So yeah, the UI classes will not happen separately in online. Currently, we don't have, right? Fine. Let's continue with our concept, right? So here yesterday we discussed about the points about variables. In yesterday's session, we discussed about the points about variables. These are all the points we discussed about variables. Difference between var, let, and const. Okay. After understanding those, one more important, you need to know about the global scope for variable. The global scope for variable. Actually, variable can be global. Variable can be global. Global in access. In access when defined. When defined, variable can be global in access when defined outside functions. Outside function. Outside function. Variable can be global in access when defined outside function. It can be using var or let or constant. Var or let or constant. Variable can be global in access if it is outside the function. Outside the function. Sometimes what we need is we want variables to be accessed. We want variables to be accessed from various functions. Let's see. So here I am defining our class. Okay. Now, the variables, how do we define, right? Let's see how we can define the variables. Okay. So first point is, suppose we have functions and we need to access the variable from the functions. So we have a function f1, that is a function, and we have function f2. F2 is another function, and we are calling f1 and f2 functions, and we want some value to be accessed in both functions. Then we can declare, so var x is equal to 10. We initialized x equal to 10. Then console.log, here we are defining x is equal to, we are accessing the value of x. So here we will say x in function f1 is 10. Similarly, I am accessing console.log. Here x in function 2 is, so we are accessing x here also. So it is available. You can access the function. From you can access x from any function because it is outside the function. Then it is global in access. So to create global in access, just you have to define outside the function. So let's run this and see. So I am just running in a command prompt so that you can clearly see it. You can run from terminal. Okay. So we are executing that Node.js, and you can see it shows x in function 1 is 10 and x in function 2 also 10. So x is accessible to the both functions. So here it is accessible in function 1 and function 2. Suppose I am declaring here with the let I am defining 20, and through let I am declaring. So I am compiling this again, and let's run this. And you can see let is also fine. That means global scope means outside. Suppose I defined const, and I defined x is equal to some 40. I'm initializing, and you can see we are accessing it, and x in function 1 and function 2 so is 40. That is also working fine. So global variable can be, usually global variable means variable can be global in access when it is defined outside function. It can be declared, it can be declared or initialized by using var or let or const. Const, you know that const can be only initialized, so you cannot declare it. So that is the point we need to understand. That is how we define that. Now in sometimes in interviews, see, don't worry about inner function outer function, because many people ask that you are going to learn when you are learning about functions. Currently our concept is not function. When we learn function, we will learn inner function, outer function, from inner to outer, how to access. Those all we will discuss in a function concept. As of now, we are just discussing about variable concept. But in interviews, many times a question is asked is can I define a variable? Can define a variable inside function with the global access. That is the question. Can I define? Can I define? Can I define a variable inside function with global access? So that is the regular question comes here. Is can we do that? Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. So we can define a variable inside a function with global access. But important is it depends on where you are using actually, where you are using and in which mode it is working. Actually, answer is yes, by using HTML window object, by using HTML window object. So HTML have a window object. Objects actually belongs to JavaScript, but HTML you can simply say that by using BOM, that is browser object model. By using BOM window object, you can declare variables inside a function which are accessible, which can be accessed outside the function, that is possible, but not every time. So you can declare by using window object, you can declare variables inside a function. But remember, this is possible when you are dealing with DOM manipulation. If you are not dealing with DOM manipulation, it is not possible. As of now, in TypeScript, directly you try without DOM manipulation, then it will show that I can't recognize window. It will say that I can't use window. But we know that window can be used with HTML. We can try that. For example, see now. I am using here. I am declaring here. So in the function, we are declaring function 1. Here we are declaring. So a variable var var or let y is equal to some 80. And so I am printing x in function 1 is x, and y in function 1 is y. I am trying to access that y. Y is accessible in function 1 because it is declared in function 1. I am trying to access y in function 2 is $y, and y is not accessible here. Y is not accessible here because y is declared inside the function. Y is declared inside the function. If it is declared inside the function, usually what happens is it is declared inside the function. If y is declared inside the function, then what happens is you can access y. You can access y. So only within that function. We cannot access outside. We can access only within the function because you declare through var or let or const anything. Now to make it access outside, you can use window.y. Window.y. Now window is an object which provides a global access. In JavaScript and TypeScript based environment, you can use window. But currently in this context, window is not suitable because there is no HTML here. There is no page here. Then window is not suitable, but still it will work. It will show an error saying that in this context, window is not correct. It's not there. But we know that it will work. Then you can see now when I compile this, usually TypeScript shows error. TypeScript shows error. It says that, so it shows that y does not exist. And see window and the type of global this. So that means here what is global this, what is type of operators we will learn about later. As of now, here it says that, so I can't recognize your window in this context, but still we know that it will work. Then see what we are doing here. So here I will just put here as I will compile this node demo.js. You can see that JavaScript will allow. So JavaScript will allow. So that means we have to compile that. It says that, you see here, window is not defined. It shows a reference error. It is saying that window is not defined because actually this time we declared with window, we have to access with window. I will use here window.y now. I'm also accessing here window.y. We declared with window y and we are accessing with window y. I will compile this. And still errors are there, no problem. And run this, you can see. So here it is simply showing this window is not defined. Because in this context, currently, especially when you are working with TypeScript, there is no HTML window to show you. So directly when you write here, obviously it will show a problem here. Right? So now we will do one thing. Here. This is, we are trying to print the values and define the values here. We will simply define this TypeScript in a HTML page. I will go to HTML page. In the HTML page, I will keep a script. Script source is equal to, it is in variables demo.js. I'm linking that script and I'm running here. We are running that here. Actually, our output is being displayed in the console. Not on the directly page. So press F12 function key. So then you will get the console debugger. In the debugger console, you can see X and Y both are working fine. You can see x in function 1 is 40, y in function 1 is 80, and it is accessible. It is working fine. It is working fine. That means in TypeScript, that situation doesn't suits now, because later it will be suitable when we are working with HTML, because window belongs to HTML. And observe carefully, y is declared inside this function, but it is global. It is accessible outside the function. If you declare by using var or let, so they are only inside this function scope. Var is function scope, let and others are block scope also. So the point is, so the concept here is, can I define a variable inside a function with global access? You can do that. So currently we can deal that by using BOM, browser model. Later you will learn some other points and other techniques how to handle them, especially when we are learning with, so the scope, access modifiers, object oriented approach. We will discuss so many things about this, right? Some more points will come. As of now, TypeScript directly will not allow, it shows always error. Why? Because TypeScript says that in the current context, why you are using window, there is no HTML at all. So then you link up with the window, then it will automatically show the output here. You can see it displays the output here. So y is in function 1, but it is accessible to function 2 also. This is the answer for that actually. Now you can declare a global variable inside the function so that we can access outside the function. This situation is very much required so many times. So why? Because in future, so many times we have to deal with this situation. That's the reason we need to know that it is possible and it can be done. Why this situation will come so many times? Because actually what happens is, sometimes suppose we are using some AJAX calls. So when we are using an AJAX call, so suppose this is some get method. So AJAX calls actually. So usually different approach. I'm just giving a point here. Now what happens is, in this AJAX call, we create a request. So get, and from that particular URL, and whatever data comes from the URL, that means actually from external source, from RESTful services and all, right? The data will come and the data will be stored. Data will be here. Data will be stored in a reference. Here we will create a variable, and in that variable, the data will be stored coming from this. But now later I need to access this outside the scope and use it outside the scope. That means in another function, we have to access the data and use it. In that case, so this variable must be initialized only when there is some data available to pull. Then we will not declare it outside, we will declare inside itself, because that variable will be initialized only when there is some data to come. After initializing, it is in the function scope, it is not accessible outside. Then we need to access outside and use in another function. In that case, we need to create variable inside the function in such a way that it is accessible globally. So that is the situation where we need to define the global scope for the variables. So that is what actually you need to understand about the variables. So this is actually the point. So how we can define the global scope for variable, right? That is the global scope for the variables, right? Next important, after understanding the global scope for variables, next option here is, remember, so when you directly run this program in TypeScript, it will show error. So what you do is, so here you have to try this. by integrating into HTML, into HTML, integrating into HTML, because directly in TypeScript, we don't have any, in the current context, we don't have any window. We don't have any window. That is the reason we need to understand the approach, how to handle it, right? Yeah, fine. Next important after understanding. So how do we define the global scope for variable? Another point you need to know about variables is about naming conventions, variable naming. We need to understand about the variable naming conventions. We learned about three things: how to declare variable, right? And how do we define variable? How to write in index? Don't you know even JavaScript also? You don't know how to integrate JavaScript file into HTML, Ankit Gupta, right? You don't know JavaScript file how to integrate in HTML, right? And then what is the question at all? What do you write in index HTML? Link this JavaScript file in HTML, right? I told you already, try this by integrating into HTML. What you will integrate into HTML? So the JavaScript file you have to link into HTML, right? Yeah. Now, what are the naming conventions actually for variable naming? Certain rules and standards we need to follow here. And actually, TypeScript follows the language rules very strictly. Later, we will learn about how to configure the rules for TypeScript. Later means usually we will learn towards the end of TypeScript how to set rules for TypeScript. Then, if a developer is violating those rules, then immediately it warns that this is not the right way to do this. Means capitalization. So how you name the variables, how you name the classes, and how you end the statements, all these, how to use the string enclosures, all these rules we can configure. That's the reason we need to follow some standards. So variable naming, you know that. First important is in TypeScript, a variable name can start with an alphabet, 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 or underscore. Now you should not use anything else other than that. A variable name should start with an alphabet or underscore. So it cannot be with a number, or it cannot be with any another special characters. Remember, many people ask this doubt because they don't know proper development. Like, sir, can I use dollar? Because some of the persons, some XYZ friend has asked him, right, that dollar can be used. But that is half knowledge people. Why? Because dollar, ampersands, all these symbols have escape sequence issues in future. So it can satisfy a particular state, but in various states it will fail. So you cannot use any approach which is not possible every time. So that means you better ignore them, because dollar, it is used by jQuery as an address for invoking of the library. In that case, what happens is you will face so many issues when you are dealing with any other special characters. Especially escape issues also will come in future. That's the reason strictly a variable name can start with an alphabet or underscore. And important, a variable name can be can be up to can be up to 255 characters long. So a variable name can be up to 255 characters long. So all these days you might never heard about this, but you need to get used to this now, because so TypeScript TypeScript belongs to Microsoft, and Microsoft has restricted the TypeScript to handle its languages with its standards. And due to that, so generally in Microsoft languages, the TypeScript variable length cannot be more than 255 characters, and it restricted the TypeScript also with the same. So this you may not hear or learn so at any place regularly, but this is what actually the standards of TypeScript variable is. That means you cannot give a TypeScript variable more than 255 characters. It cannot be more than 255 characters long because the memory allocated for that will be that. It cannot be more than 255 character long. So variable name. So variable name can be alphanumeric, numeric. So that means it can be alphanumeric, but it cannot start with a number. It cannot start with a number. So that means underscore, suppose db. So db, so or underscore some data. It is valid. This is valid. Suppose I said let underscore data. So this is valid. Underscore data, that is valid. So let suppose underscore data 1 2. So that is also valid. Let so data underscore 1 2. So that is also valid. And let 1 2 underscore data. So or let 1 2 data. So these are all invalid. It cannot start. These are all invalid. So there are so many consequences. I given you few important consequences how we can define or name the variables. So technically, variable name can start with an alphabet, so or underscore. It can be 255 characters long. And important, variable name must speak what it is. That is very important. Avoid using. So this is very important. As per the standards of coding, you need to follow certain standards. Always use singular, right, for one value, and plural for multiple. That means, for example, so let product is equal to an array. So this is not good. It will work, but it is not good because array is a collection. Better use products plural for an array. These are all coding standards. This is good. All right. I'm not saying that valid or invalid. I'm saying that it's not good. It's good. That is how we define. Suppose let. Suppose I say products is equal to TV. So this again not good. Let product is equal to TV. That looks good. That is good. You need to know these standards. Another important is always use camel case for variables. Variable name. Always use camel case. If you are not following such rules, usually what happens is later, because we set certain rules for coding, later you will see lot of warnings in your code while writing in the debugger. Lot of warnings will come because as per the standards of code, they define certain rules and you are missing them. Then they are not errors, but it is warning telling the developer that I'm not expecting like this. It will even give you suggestion that better do this. That's the reason. So we have to avoid so all the violations of coding that generally we do. When we give a name, we have to follow all these standards and give. So that means use always a camel case for variable name. Camel case, you know how to do that. Suppose let. Suppose I want to give a name, then I will write part-time. So part-time employee like this. That is how we define this. That is how we define a variable name. So let txt name. LET. So LET, LST, cities like this. That means actually in the camel case, in the camel case, very important, one more point you should know is the prefix. The prefix must define, define. So what it is, what it is, and suffix must define, define for what purpose it is. Purpose it is. This is very important. Prefix must define what it is, and that means what it is means, for example, txt, that means it is, we think that this is text box. Btn, we think that this is button. Lst, we think that it is a list, it is a list. And important, so name, that means txt name, this indicates that text box for name, for storing name, for what purpose it is. So that is, suppose lst, cities. So cities, that means a list for cities. So that is why, that is how we need to name the variables, and we need to configure these variables. These are all the naming conventions, these are all the naming standards we need to follow for defining names for the variables. These are all the rules. Already I told you, if you want to know more rules, then you can get it from PMD. You go through PMD or Sonar, like, you will get more information about rules of coding. How do we write coding practices? So especially PMD is PMD, right? Yes, this is PMD. So this is PMD. In this PMD, you can go to documentation. Go to documentation. This is PMD git.io. You can go here. You can go to documentation. In the documentation, you will see rule reference. You can see the rule reference. And our JavaScript follows the rules of ECMA script. You have Java rules, ECMA script rules. So many will be there. Go to ECMA script rules. In that, you have error prone, you have coding style, you have best practices. You click on them. It will give you all the information about how do we declare, how do we write assignment operators, how to write for loops and unnecessary blocks, unreachable codes, how to configure, and all this. These are all the coding rules actually. So you can go through them and you will get more clarity. You can see global variable. I am showing here the coding standards. Remember, these are the standards mentioned by the people who are maintaining standards of that language, ECMA. I will go to the global variable, and you can see global variable. It says that you can use window.global. It says that you can use window.global. Remember, these are the rules mentioned by the people who built this language, who are maintaining the standards of the language. So then nobody can say that this is not correct. So that it will be a foolish point. Why? Because you cannot say that people who build the language, they are wrong, right? So here the point is, you need to understand all these coding standards. And for that, you can go through all this. Right? You can read these rules when you are learning a language. It will tell you more detailedly about that. All these certain rules, while discussing about various concepts, we will go through. We will discuss about that. So no need to worry about them. So whenever we are discussing, so then we can handle it. So actually, in JavaScript, there is another technique of global variable actually. In JavaScript, another technique of global variable is, here I am defining window. Without using var let, you declare this. It is possible. You declare y without window, without var, or without let, then it is global. So y is equal to, suppose, 90. It is global. Without declaring, you do this. It is global. I will compile this. It is generated into JavaScript. And I will refresh and see the output here. I will refresh and see the output here. So that means we will see the output here. Open, yeah, in the HTML page. We will see the output here, and you can see that in the console F12. So you can see Y is 90. It is also global. But remember one point here is this is wrong. Why this is wrong? Because if JavaScript is in strict mode, without declaring, you cannot use na. If JavaScript is in strict mode, this is invalid. It will say invalid. So because you have to declare, that's the reason we have to better go with window. We have to go with window. Window means you are declaring. Without declaring, you cannot use if it is in strict mode. That is the basic rule already you learned. That's the reason it is good always to define window. Because many times when you tell that I will use window, sometimes so any interviewer may ask that without window also, if I don't use var, let and const, it is global. Then why you are giving window, right? So then you have to tell this point that because if it is in strict mode, then it is mandatory to declare. Without declaring, you cannot use it. If it is in strict mode, it is mandatory to declare. Without declaring, we cannot use it. And by default, TypeScript is in strict mode. So then it will never allow. That's the reason lot of errors came now. That is the reason lot of errors came. But still we know that it is possible to use in JavaScript. That's the reason we are running and using. But we should not entertain all these in TypeScript actually. But still, when you are using TypeScript with HTML, then this is how we need to manage them. That is the reason we need to know both techniques. So how with only TypeScript, how to handle. With JavaScript combination, how to handle. We need to understand both the situation and work with that, right? That is the point. So these are the key points about variables and variable namings. So these are the key things we need to understand about variables and variable name. Now, once you know about this, now next important, we need to understand about the data types. So what is data type? How do we configure the types? What is data type and all? We will discuss about that. That we'll see in next session, right? On Monday, we will continue with the concept of data types. And Monday, because our registration process will complete by Monday, they will start and finish. Mostly by Monday, Tuesday, this link will change and registered people will get an email notification. Other people may not able to attend anymore. Why? Because only for registered, our class will continue now. And from Monday, Tuesday, if the link changes, you will be intimated through email. Our admin guy will be in contact with you. And important is, so Monday, we will see how many people are there. And Monday, we will see how many people missed out the first sessions. And we will conduct a backup for those people on Tuesday or Wednesday, once we confirm how many people are registered and continuing this session. For the people who registered and continuing, we will conduct the backup session for the topics they missed out. Okay. So mostly now demos are done. We are into the concept. So we have to continue in a regular approach now, right? Then again, we will meet on Monday. We'll continue with this concept of data types. Okay. Mr. Anil, you will learn all the strategies once you are into the concept. Okay. No need to hurry. No class tomorrow. Again, we will be on Monday. Yes. Any doubts? Jairam, Ahmed, Raghavendra.
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Jairam, you can talk.
Sir, when I'm compiling the code, it is TSC with the class name that it's showing the error that is it is not internal external command. What is the error?
You install TypeScript, huh?
Yes, sir. TypeScript. Install
Install
TypeScript.
TypeScript, huh?
Uh,
You install TypeScript.
no, sir. Where I have to install?
Without install TypeScript, how you can write TSC? I told you the process of how to set up environment, na? Go through the
I think.
notes once. Complete process I told you how to install from the beginning. Eh?
Okay.
Yes, Raghavendra.
So I have a quick question. So earlier we were discussing example regarding the Ajax call, right, sir? Like where we were making the get call. So you told us means we can use global variables like window.
That is not an example. That is just a scenario.
Okay. So instead,
I just explained a scenario. Don't take it very seriously.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you. That's it. Yeah.
Just scenario I am explaining. Now don't think that I explained Ajax. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir. But my doubt is like instead of using Windows over there, we can specify a global variable at the class level. And
I already told you we use window only when you are dealing with BOM hierarchy.
okay.
Right. If you are not dealing with BOM hierarchy, there are so many other techniques to deal with that.
Okay, cool, sir. I got just confused between that and this. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Yes, Jaypal.
Sir, when I'm executing the JavaScript JS file, it is not showing errors and it is not executing and it is not coming the output, sir. Not showing any output.
You better install TeamViewer or AnyDesk in your machine. Monday I will take a look on that. Okay.
Sure, sir. Now only I have everything.
Now I don't have time. I have another session to attend. Right?
Okay, sir.
Monday we will get back to you. Okay.
When you will be available, sir?
See, for registered people, until the problem is solved, I will access their machines. I will solve the problem. Right?
Okay.
You don't need to worry about that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Ahmad Hussain.
Sir, I have paid the fees for Spring Boot, sir. They say Spring Boot patch free for AngularJS.
Those free course fees, everything you talk to admin guy, not to me. About the concept you want, you can talk to me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. Actually, can you please arrange one single class for events and events propagation in the JavaScript? I mean, because actually we have most of the project we have legacy code of JavaScript.
This is not JavaScript class, Mr. Suhir.
Yeah. I know, but
this is Angular and TypeScript.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
when you learn Angular, you will learn about how to handle events.
Okay.
It is a concept of Angular, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yes, Vishnu.